In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look here at a major coastal system along the East Coast. And really, in today's model guidance, there is going to be a lot of interesting storms throughout the upcoming pattern. On top of that, models are still showing periodic colder air moving in, and I call it that because it's not a consistently cold pattern the whole way through. There is a lot of back and forth, but I can't really say that for the previous pattern quite as much. So this is going to be cooling versus what we've been dealing with, but certainly, again, not the coldest possible pattern in the world, and I want to make that very, very clear. Now, let's go ahead and move into things. We're obviously taking a look at the current conditions as far as this coastal storm, which is already kind of ongoing. Here, as you can see, lots of precipitation around for South Carolina, North Carolina, and this is quickly over this evening going to be moving into Virginia as well. The low still well offshore. This is going to essentially do something very interesting. We'll see it on the model guidance later, but the low is probably more like there. This only updates every few hours. And it's not just going to move straight up the coast. That's originally what we did anticipate. Instead of that, I'll do kind of like dash lines. It's going to move a little bit up the coast, and then it's going to kind of stall out. Another center of low pressure is going to develop to the north. I'm going to do dashed lines to kind of indicate this, but it's basically going to transfer that energy up to the north, and then this will become the primary low. And the effect of this isn't going to change too much about the southern areas that are already seeing impacts, and it's not going to change too much about the northern areas seeing impacts. But this area in between is going to likely see less impacts than what was originally possible. And that's not to say that it isn't going to be a major system for these regions, but it is going to lessen the impacts at least a little bit because of that transferring as opposed to just straight moving through. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and move into our model guidance. Now this is the 0Z model run, so we're going to have to move this forward here, right there, to the afternoon, and what we see is a 998. This is approximately just a little bit later than right now. So we can see a little bit more Virginia saturated, still North Carolina and South Carolina. Let's move it over the next few hours. And this is when that transferring starts. Still the primary low is really close to South Carolina and North Carolina, but notice these little rings there, a little bit closer to the mid-Atlantic perhaps. And instead of this low just purely moving up, again, we're going to start to see this one just start to really intensify and basically steal the energy from that system to the south. This is an awesome time to note. This is going to be 8 a.m. Sunday, so tomorrow, that we do have a lot of activity out west as well. Showery activity throughout the northwest, four corner states, even the north central states, with even some snowfall for the higher elevations of the Rockies from a lot of this storminess. It's also quite colder out there as we kind of follow our jet stream. It's a little bit of a trough and then a ridge over the central, and it does come back down a little bit for the East Coast. As we move towards tomorrow afternoon, we can see that transferring still taking place. Major systems over the central states and lots of precipitation out west as a whole. Moving towards Monday afternoon here on October 13th, still the southern one is the primary low, but we see a lot of impacts really starting up here for the northeast and mid-Atlantic. Lots of rainfall and wind, but notice this area in between is looking quite dry. They kind of just missed out on the majority of it, at least on this model run. I know the GFS does show a little bit more impacts as of now for these areas. Let's keep going towards Tuesday afternoon, and all of the low pressure is offshore by this point. And generally, the west stays active. We see lots of precipitation out there, snowfall throughout the Rockies and the Sierra Nevada mountain ranges, as well as just normal rain showers for a lot of areas. I want to keep going, though, towards Wednesday the 15th. And as we get there, not a whole lot changes. We continue to see the Rockies and areas surrounding there seeing a lot of activity. The jet stream is very interesting as we have kind of a trough in the west, ridge in the central, and trough in the east again here in general. So pretty interesting, a little cooler for the east here on this particular date. Moving towards Thursday afternoon here on October 16th, what we see is the jet stream ridging over the central states, troughing over the east, and again, a little bit of a trough here over the west as well. So a lot of precipitation here throughout the Rockies, northeastward into the north central states, and even upper Midwest there, as we have a tandem of lows. As we keep going towards Friday, a lot of that energy moves to the north. We do have a little bit of a cold front swinging down, and this is bringing some interesting weather to the Midwest and plains, a little bit of thunderstorms or heavier showers possible. Still, the Northwest getting activity here, so that is not ending anytime soon. Saturday afternoon on the 18th, we see a little bit more low pressure forming here over the central states. Off to the east of that, we do see a lot of showers and thunderstorms going on. And for the Rockies, we continue to get snowfall chances into next weekend. Looking at Sunday here on the 19th, we have a 991 there near Wisconsin, secondary low 1004 down there over Mississippi. And overall, there is a bit of a cold front complex going on somewhere in there. It's obviously quite messy. Then a warm front up here to the north. So you can anticipate warmer, more humid air for Sunday the 19th, at least according to this model run. This is over a week out, so take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. Northwest, you guessed it, still stormy with snowfall for the high elevations there. Monday here on the 20th, we do see the East Coast seeing storminess, a low there between the Hudson Bay and Great Lakes, and this is a rather strong one as well, bringing just tons of precipitation to many different regions. And we do see a ridge building out west, so there's a trough kind of filling in the central states, ridge in the east here, as well as a ridge in the west. As we keep going, though, towards Tuesday, this trough does begin to move eastward, and there's no denying that the jet stream is obviously a quite healthy ridge over the west, deep diving into the central states, and then there's a bit of a southeast ridge still ongoing, bringing warmer, more mild air there to the southeast overall, but this is much cooler here for the Midwest, Plains, Great Lakes than what we've been experiencing, and this is actually much colder than what's even normal for this time of year. So there's a massive departure from really what we've been experiencing. Wednesday the 22nd is a pretty dry date. There's still a lot of low pressure there near the Great Lakes and between the Hudson Bay, so you can anticipate more cooler air moving in here as we move towards Thursday the 23rd and even into Friday the 24th here, seeing similar conditions. And then towards the end of the model run, we still have a ridge throughout a lot of the west and central states, and this is dipping towards the east. So the east is kind of the coolest region here by this point. Looking at the total precipitation, this is a little bit less optimistic than what we've been anticipating. Again, the east as a whole, these areas along the coast have seen a decrease in impacts overall. Again, right where it's transferring, but this has become a little bit more widespread in the Northeast, but a little bit more limited to the exclusively coastal regions for Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina as these model runs have gone by. The Plains, Midwest, and Great Lakes have backed off of precipitation a little bit, and the West continues to dominate here with the activity looking really, really strong moving forward. So the anomalies here, all green out west for the most part. The north central states is mostly neutral to where we're very close, either above or below normal. And then a lot of dryness for the south central, southeast area overall here. Still a big concern. Total snowfall throughout this model run. We do get a little bit for Minnesota there, interesting. And also the mountainous northeast gets a little bit. But the west, as what's typical this time of year, is the most snowy region overall. Just really, really snowy here. Looking at the temperatures, as you can see, kind of moving through this European model run, we're a little cooler along the east for a couple of days here. We do warm up and see a much cooler pattern out west overall, which is why we're seeing some snowfall chances. And then we get a backdoor cold front. I've mentioned this the last few days, so I'll just briefly mention it, but it's just coming from a weird point more eastward, and we call it a backdoor cold front as opposed to the front door, which would be out west. So typically these are a little less intense, and in this case, we get slightly below average temperatures to decently below average in some of the green areas, with still the most major trough in the west, and overall a ridge wanting to be more dominant in the east. It's after the 20th that we get a more purely cooler pattern. Again, nothing extreme, but it is below normal, and for the most part, we've been pretty well above normal. So this is maybe only a 5-10 degree difference from what's typical for this time of year, but it's definitely a 15-20 degree difference versus what we've been seeing, which makes it obviously it's going to feel more extreme, if that makes sense, versus what we've been going through. And then we do warm up here at the end of the model run, although this is very far out, so take it with a grain of salt. GFS model overall is going to basically relay the same thing. We do see that backdoor cold front 15th, 16th, 17th. We warm up, and then we get an actual big cool down here 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and then another one moving in there for the 25th, 26th, 27th. So these models are differing a little bit. The GFS model is a little bit more extreme with the cooler air, the European model a little bit more reserved, but they both show frequent cooldowns here of varying degrees, and that is going to be much different, again, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, than what we have been seeing over the last few weeks and even month. So with all that being said, be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.